Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the debrief. Geo,
Click
how
live.
was
It
one
says
sec?
it doesn't say we're live.
It says we're live.
It doesn't say we're live to me. Henry, carry on.
No, we're live. We're live. People in the chat can confirm, but we're live.
I trust you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the debrief. Geo, how is oneself? Apart from apparently very combative this morning.
Worried we're not live, but apart from that, I've still got a mixture of feelings, Charlie. Like I'm still proud and I'm still sort of feeling positive about the first half and impressed with how we played and whatnot. But on the other hand, there's still a bit of me that just has that what if. What
Yeah.
if we had three players in the squad that we could call upon and off the bench in the first leg and the second leg? So it does feel a bit like a missed opportunity. So I'm proud and I'm pleased with how we played. I was impressed with how we played for 45 minutes, but it feels like almost the two legs almost sum up David Moyes' tenure at West Ham for me, which is the away game. We were too defensive, not bold enough, far too cautious, and the squad depth done us. Then in the second leg, went toe to toe with a really good team, showed that we could take on the best. The football was really good, really enjoyable, but the squad depth done us once again, and the substitutes were too late. If you could summarise David Moyes' 4-year reign at West Ham, I think we've seen it across 180 minutes, which is capable, but we don't always show it. But the bench and the substitutes will always bite us in the arse. And yeah, that's what I witnessed last night. But pleased, but disappointed at the same time. But it's almost like a positive disappointment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think bittersweet is kind of where I'm at. I think last night in the immediate aftermath, I was very downbeat. I was very sort of like, oh, man, yeah, there it is. It's done now. We had like stats potentially because of what's happening in the league. It feels like potentially that's our just European journey over the last couple of years done. And I was very downbeat about it. And the longer it went on, and then waking up this morning and making the thumbnail and stuff, I think it became more bittersweet and sort of more, slightly more positive and proud. I saw a lot of people talking about it. Like when I make the thumbnails for these videos, I often put on like the other channels in the background. If we haven't got a video, I'll put on some of the other channels and listen to what they were saying. And I think the more I spoke and listened to people, and the more I sort of thought about it, the prouder I got. I thought we saw last night. We saw last night what everyone wanted, or what the vocal people who speak about it commonly at least wanted. And we also saw the limitations of that. We went out, we put it all on the line. We were brilliant for at least the first 35 minutes, and then we were great for the entire first half. That period before Agaird's injury, we were utterly incredible. And then once there was that little stoppage of play and Alonso was able to get a little bit through to them, he made the change. They were able to get a little bit more control, but we still were managing to go. And it was pretty early in that second half. It was very clear that we just didn't have the legs to carry on doing it. And even then, it didn't feel like we were entirely out of the game. It wasn't like, well, that's the opportunity gone, we still won't be able to do something. I was saying it about 75-ish minutes in. I was saying, do you know what? I still think there's a goal in this game. I don't know which team it is, but if you said it was us, I would believe you. It wasn't like we were completely out of the game. We were playing a bit differently. We were having to be a bit more cautious and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, in the end, like you say, the difference really was just the benches and the manager. Alonso got it bang on. He the first beginning of the game, we were obviously all over them. Moyes absolutely nailed it. To his credit, I thought the way he set us up was absolutely perfect. The way we played, it's not like we were playing this like on the floor brilliant football either. Like we would get the ball deep in a half and we would just punt it over the top of them, and we were basically looking at our strengths on the pitch, which is Antonio, Kudus, Bowen, and going, well, all of them are good at getting in behind, so let's just punt it in behind. And they were constantly on the back foot with their unbelievable high line. It really was obvious to that. And then when they were on the ball, passing it around at the back, we pressed them enough to where they would boot it long, and we had Zuma, Aguerd, Thomas Soucek there, Edson Alvarez, who were just headering it down, just winning it back consistently. I thought we nailed it, and a fair play to Xabi Alonso. He saw what was happening. He figured out how to change it. He put that through to the players, and he has the players on the bench to be able to change it enough up to get there. They were rotated in the first half. We saw a little bit of their stronger first team coming in the second and stuff. But yeah, I think overridingly, I'm just, that cliche of don't be sad it's over, be happy it happened sort of thing is kind of where I'm at. Like, I've wanted since the beginning of this channel. I've been talking about Europe. I remember, I mean, I've brought it up loads of times, but that first season, last season at Upton Park, first season of Hammers Chat, towards the end of the season, me, you, and Tom Down were on a video, and it was we had a conversation about whether we would prefer to get to an FA Cup final or finish in top four, because one of those two things seemed likely at that time. And you asked myself and Tom, and I said finish top four, because European football would be such a huge achievement for us and such a huge thing for us. And I think over the last 3 seasons, not only have we enjoyed watching incredible football in Europe, got to face all these teams. If you're an away fan, you've got to travel all here, there, and everywhere. Some places you'd love to travel, some you probably never would have gone to otherwise. And we've seen how it's benefited the team. You've seen the level of players we've managed to bring in because of it. And I just sit here thinking, for the last 3 years or something, I've got to see this team play European football, and I'm really, really happy about that. Sucks that it doesn't seem like it'll be happening next year. But I can't quite, despite the fact we didn't win last night, despite the fact we lost in the first leg, I can't quite shake that sort of pride feeling out.
Yeah, I think Moyes got it bang on for 45 minutes, and then Xabi Alonso got it bang on for 45 minutes. I think it was a game of two halves between the managers, and Xabi Alonso reacted to what Moyes did at half time, and I don't think we reacted to what Xabi Alonso did. I think, and this is just my opinion, I'm not saying this is what happened, this was my interpretation of how I seen the second half. There was fatigue there from us, but bear in mind we went in at half time really lively and energetic, and we almost started the second half 50 minutes later really quite like low on energy. I don't believe we went from that to that within 15 minutes of sitting in the changing room, and I think the halftime almost killed our adrenaline and momentum a little bit. But I think what was key was the substitute Xabi Alonso made. Boniface was just better at holding the ball up than Schick. Schick couldn't make anything stick. It was just Zoom and Agard were fine with Patrick Schick in the first half. Second half, Boniface a bit better at it, but I think the key sub was taking Frimpong on, not because he scored, but I think I felt like they switched to like a 4-2-3-1 with when Grimaldo and Frimpong were really high and really wide, and it just pushed Creswell and Soufal back. And in the first half, when we went long ball, Creswell and Soufal were able to get up and back up Bowen and Kudus and basically allow them to go in field and play next to Michail Antonio. Whereas in the second half, I didn't think they could get out of our half at all because of the way Leverkusen were playing, and because of those two players. I thought Creswell and Soufal were just completely shackled by Grimaldo and Frimpong, and we couldn't get out of our half. So whenever Bowen did get a run, there was absolutely zero backup for him. Or when Kudus did a run, Creswell couldn't get anywhere near him because of Frimpong pinning him back. So I think Alonso got his tactics bang on. In both games, it was, the game of substitutes, really. Leverkusen was able to turn to his bench. And like I said, the significant difference is when Alonso brings on, in the first leg, even when he was bringing on Teller for Frimpong, he's doing that with belief Teller's going to make a difference. And then Hoffman and Boniface make the difference. But last night, he brought on Frimpong and Boniface with belief they were going to change the game. But when we did our subs, which is Cornet and Johnson, there's zero evidence that Moyes would have faith that they're going to change it or confidence they're going to change. It's just a hope. Because if Moyes believed in Cornet, we would have seen him previously. We would have seen him against Fulham earlier. We would have seen him against Leverkusen last week. We haven't seen him, which would imply Moyes doesn't think he can make a significant difference. So when he comes on last night, it's just done with a prayer. It's just throw him on and pray something works. There's no belief there from the manager Cornet's going to change the game, because if he has that, then why haven't we seen him previously? It's just done out of sheer desperation and hope that Cornet can do something. And that's the big difference between the two teams, in my opinion. One manager has a bench and has utilised the players throughout the season, so they're options. And then the other manager doesn't have much of a bench, but what he does have hasn't been playing enough, so that when you do bring him on, there's nothing. Cornet's got no momentum, no confidence, nothing. You're basically drafting him out the cold and throwing him into such a big occasion. And it's a bit frustrating. I'm proud. I thought we played well. And the worst thing for me is, I've got this hope now that if we win on Sunday, we're back in the European race for next season. And it's almost getting my hopes up. I'm like, no, Geo, stop this. Stop getting your hopes up. Like, you're not going to beat Palace, Chelsea and Luton and finish 6th or 7th. Stop it. Just get out of your head. I'm trying to not get my hopes up, because we've got Liverpool and Man City and stuff like that. So I'll probably get disappointed, but I'm trying to just remain calm a minute. But the first 45 was as good a 45 minutes I've seen from West Ham in a long, long time, possibly ever, really. There's been periods of really good performances, but for 45 minutes, that football was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it, Charlie. I really enjoyed that first half against Leverkusen last night.
Yeah. Thank you, guys, for the £5. We appreciate it. Hey, lads, great first half last night. Very surprised Moyes went negative at the start of the second half to try and keep it tight instead of going for it. Did you see it's going negative or just running out of steam? It felt like to me running out of steam and then Xabi Alonso changing his tactics to be a lot slower.
I thought it was the players were knackered and Alonso made changes, which my disappointment wasn't that we tried to keep it tight in the second half. My disappointment was it took us so long to react to what Xabi Alonso had done.
Yeah,
it felt like, you know, when the other manager does a sub, there's a bit of an indicator there that it's changing something. And when I seen that he came on for someone that wasn't Stanisic, who did he come on for, Charlie? It wasn't Verts, it wasn't Taylor. Was it Taylor? Was it Taylor?
Oh, yeah, it was Taylor.
Yeah. So when he's bringing on his sort of right wing back for the number 10, there's a bit of a clue there that something's happening here. And so as soon as I seen it was for Taylor, I was like, that's a bit of I just assumed it would be for Stanisic. Then you could see the change of formation from Alonso, the change of strategy from Alonso, but we continued doing the same thing, which was working against the first half Leverkusen, but pretty much from the start of the second half, it wasn't working, and we continued doing it. And even when we made our changes, it was quite like for like substitutes, really, in the sense that put Corneo on, drop Ward-Prowse back. Corneo just took up Caduce's position. That's all. So I think it was more just that Moyes didn't necessarily react to what Alonso had done at half time. And I think it just stifled us.
Yeah, I think there was probably something in Bayer Leverkusen. You mentioned it before the game, that idea of like if they score first, then this tie is done. And I think there was a temptation as we raised the tempo for them to just keep plugging and going, no, we're going to get this goal quickly. And it was when that pinging back and forth was really benefiting us. And I think what they did was just slow the tempo down massively and go, we don't need the goal here. We can just slow this down. We can bring on our subs. We can do what we need to do and just play our game. And that was what ended up, I think, sort of changing it. I don't think it was necessarily that we dropped off too much. Like, don't get me wrong, there was obviously a levels drop off because I think we were just so tired. It just wasn't going to happen. But I don't think it was a case necessarily of us like going massively defensive as we have seen in the past, like for example in the first leg. History of Mike as well, thank you for the £20, massively appreciate it. What a journey the last 3 seasons, can't help but be deflated. Lack of squad depth and lack of tactical adaptation in the first leg put us out in the second and out of reach. This will be a what if scenario for a while for me. Proud of the lads.
I agree with every word of that.
Yeah, I agree as well. Thank you, Mike, appreciate you. I think it's your first super chat, at least I've never seen your name before, so I appreciate it. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think, like you were just saying about this idea of like, now it's sort of giving me hope a little bit in the back of my mind. I think it is just going to have to be a take it as it comes kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because, for example, the way we played against Leverkusen was perfect for the way Leverkusen play. I don't know if you could do that against another team and it work in the same manner.
I think you could against, looking at our remaining fixtures, I think you could do that against Crystal Palace and Chelsea, certainly. And I would argue that to some extent, that's how you possibly should be approaching Liverpool and Man City as well. So actually, at the remaining 5 games, I think 4 of them are actually suited for that style of football. Luton at home is the one where I'm not sure they'll allow you to play like that. It might suit them, that sort of erratic, high energy game. That's how Luton like to play as well. But I think actually, you know, that way that we went about it in the first 45 would work. The problem is we'll have the same problems, which is the energy levels of the second half. That will still be the same. Arguably, it'll be worse on Sunday because they've just played last night.
Yeah.
So can you play like that? I'm not so sure. Style-wise, yes, great. But in terms of the players, not really. On the hour mark last night, I thought it was 3 or 4 players looked dead on their feet for us.
Yeah.
And I understand it. They gave everything in the first 45, but it just shows that you possibly can't sustain that over the remaining 5 games. But the good thing is we'll have a week between, bar this one, between Palace and Chelsea and Luton, Man City and Liverpool. There's now a week between games. So we've actually got a really good recovery period between matches, which isn't something we've been afforded recently. So hopefully that can reap rewards. But we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, you've got to take it game by game.
Someone who didn't run out of legs, James Ward-Prowse. Legend has it he's still running. That guy, if there has ever been a criticism that he can't run for 90 minutes, I thought he disproved that yesterday. He was going and going. Even when he moved into a deeper position, he just kept going and going. And it was nice to see, because I thought it was, if I'm honest, I thought it was by far and away probably his best game at West Ham. I was so unbelievable. There's been games where he scored and assisted and all that, but like the effort he put in last night and the running he did, the pressing we did in that first half, a lot of it was him. And I thought he deserves plaudits because he was just unbelievable last night.
Right up there with the Arsenal Cup game. I think those two performances for me were, and this is where Ward-Prowse as a 10 can work sometimes in the right game. But this is where, if we were to play Luton on Sunday and we were to do the same thing again, but oh, come on, man, you can't approach Luton is the same way as Bayer Leverkusen, and that's where my frustrations come in with James Ward-Prowse is the furthest central midfielder, just call it number 10 and an advanced, whatever you want to call it. When Ward-Prowse is in that pocket of space, I think there's some games it will work, and it worked last night, but it doesn't mean it'll work for every game going forward. And that's where I get frustrated with Moyes, because sometimes it's a one glove fits all. And if you're Man City or you're Bayer Leverkusen, you can do that because you're the best team. But when you're a side a little bit further down the table, you can't afford to approach every single game, because you look at Brighton, they approach every single game the same way, they get done. Spurs approach every single game the same way, they get done, because they're not the best team. Unless you are the creme de la creme, you ain't going to get away with it every match. You've got to adapt. And this is where sometimes I think we are, or Moyes is guilty of going, oh, that worked against Arsenal away, let's do that at home to Burnley. No, man, it's two completely different scenarios. 100%. But
I think that's one of those things where going forward, I would love to see just more situationless. I'm not talking about the rest of this season. I'm talking about just in general with West Ham. That ability to adapt to the opposition is a big thing, and not necessarily have to do the same thing over and over again. But apologies, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, right, for the next 15 minutes, we're going to take your comments in the live chat. If you're enjoying the video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat as well. It'd be nice to hit 38,000 subscribers before bedtime on Sunday. If I could go to bed on Sunday night with 38,000 subscribers, that would be nice. That would make me feel good. Hopefully with 3 points in the bag at Selhurst Park as well. But I can't control that, but you can control the subscriber count. Right then, Jack says we've got no depth and we have to blame Moyes, while DJ says proud of the team. Collectively, we played like a team and read each other really well. Frustrated as we missed chances we would normally take, but overall the referee was awful. Cost us so many decisions. Jimmy says he feels, or she feels, like our players were knackered from overuse and have a lack of practice playing that kind of football. Proper rotation and bench options would have seen us win that game. I am sure of it. Ben's asking what happens to the Europa League spot if Villa win the Conference League. Bevel?
It goes. It doesn't. Nothing changes, doesn't it?
Correct. It doesn't impact England. It goes to another country on UEFA's coefficient. It's usually like Belgium or someone that benefits from that scenario. Percy said Alonso set them up expecting us to hit them on the break. He realised that was happening and changed it up on a couple of occasions as the game went on. And he said the ref was a joke, gave nothing to the constant fouls on Antonio in the second half. Nick, I assume it's Nick from Claret Booth, says, feel exhausted today, but still have that feeling of pride. First time me and my son have been emotionally charged and gripped to a West Ham game. He misses that feeling a lot. John's asking, do the players have the energy to repeat that style match after match?
Not this current squad. Some of them will, but I don't think a lot of them can. I mean, Michail Antonio, part of me feels like the only reason he's been able to last so long at West Ham is because of the style change and the way it's different up. I can't see him being able to do that everywhere, and there's a lot of players you could probably replicate that across in the squad currently. I think it's something we should aim for, certainly when we're looking at January, when we're looking at the summer and then going forward from there. But with this current crop, no, I can't see it.
Brian says the referee gave us nothing in the second half and let a number of things go, and was dishing out cards for virtually nothing.
How many yellow cards were there in the end? 6
in the end, but the 6th one was for Alvarez, who got booked while he was on the bench once he got substituted. None for fouls. No cards for
That was the
fouls.
thing you said yesterday. That, no, it wasn't
Yeah,
a
there was
single one for
none.
fouls.
Antonio was for squaring up to Taz. Suchek was for fighting Palacios. Sufal was for complaining about a throw we never got. And then Zuma was booked for trying to speak to the referee. It was just ridiculous. I know he got booked for touching rep. Oh, he went up to him just trying to get his attention because he just booked the fouls. If say, hey, you can't calm things down a bit. And he was like, yeah, yellow card, touching me, booking. What the hell? That ref was on one last night. Barry said, I just hope we go like that every game for the rest of the season. Just go up the other teams. We need points. We can't rely on the other teams around us. Simon says the way we played in the first half is what we've been crying out for, but it needs a viable squad and a manager committed to it and a board with ambition. So we need to change the board, the manager, and the team. I get your point, Simon. I don't disagree. It's just everything.
Do you know what? It's not the point. It's the task ahead of us that seems daunting. Do you know what I mean?
Connor met Gonzo in the flesh last night for the first time.
I'm sorry.
Disappointed about lack of height comments or something here. Come on, he's small. Angus can't get over Bowen's first half miss. That had to go in. I know it was early on, but that was so significant. Cyclops says the first half was most enjoyable for ages. Had him on the edge of his seat and annoying the neighbours. Guy said didn't mean the message to sound negative. Was powdered. I don't think it sounded negative. I also think there was tiring. Just seemed to let them have more time with the ball. Oh yeah, guys, we were just discussing your point. Honestly, it's not as well as we always say. As long as you're honest, I hate when people are negative about people being negative. The irony is incredible. You know, we got a row in the preview. Myself and Gonzo said we'd lose, and there was a few people saying, "Oh, this is too negative." Well, what do you want us to do? Leverkusen, nothing, mean nothing. We're going to win easily, 6-0. What's the point in that? What's the point of sitting, clapping, pretending to be happy with it? Then, if you're positive, brilliant. I want to be positive too. But if your honest opinion is negative, that's not ideal. But it's not really in your hands. It's not really up to that person. If you think Calvin Phillips ain't doing well last time, it's not your fault. It's just your honest opinion. Just be honest. If it's positive, great. If it's negative, also great. As long as it's honest. Anyway, Anthony met Gonzo on the boats as well last night. Grasper was there, said the atmosphere was over the roof.
It did. To be fair, it did sound genuinely good.
Really good. Bino said, I believe the referee was investigated for corruption last season. He was a year ago that he was investigated in Spain, as well as a couple of other referees for having. I believe it's basically he's probably got things that I'm just guessing by what I read, but I think there's been queries as to how he can afford some of his belongings on a referee's salary. Right? Do you know, it'd be like you started. Not that you drive, but you were driving around in Porsche. I'd say, how the hell does he afford that editing videos?
If I started shopping at Waitrose, people would be asking questions. People would be asking questions.
If you came on here with organic and premium baby bells,
it'd be a problem.
It's either that or everybody that's ever watched our channel has joined up to Patreon. And then Charlie might get Waitrose baby bells, but until that happens, I don't think he's got a yacht. I think the phrase was luxury apartment, and I think there might be a luxury car and luxury jewellery. I think, and it's not just him. There was other referees. They were investigated, and obviously cleared of wrongdoing, but they were certainly being monitored.
And to be fair, corruption last night suggests Xabi Alonso gave him a brown envelope. I just think he was awful. I'm not someone who ever whenever we do these videos, whenever we do videos, watch along, I never talk about the referee ever. He was god awful.
Did you hear Moyes after the game?
No, I missed it.
Moyes got asked about the officials because obviously Antonio went first, and Michail Antonio on the pitch said, "Oh, difficult playing against 12 men, 14 if you include the linesmen. Good on you, Michael. Fantastic." So Moyes got asked, "What do you make of the officials?" Because Antonio's been outspoken. And Moyes said something, and he said, Moyes said, the officials in their bench were speaking Spanish. Maybe I should have learned more Spanish when I was out there. Because obviously Xabi, Alonso, the officials were Spanish, so they were actually just communicating in their native tongue. Obviously, Moyes can't understand what's going on, so which is a bit of an issue. But I guess you could say that happens whenever you play European football. I'd imagine the referees have to speak English. That's a requirement of a UEFA referee. They've got to speak English and 2 other languages, I think. I could be wrong. I think it's the same requirement. Believe it or not, it's the same requirement to be a manager of a Hilton hotel. You have to be able to communicate in English in 2 foreign tongues.
Love that.
You do. You've got to do it. You've got to do it because years and years ago, I went for an interview as to be a trainee manager at the Hilton, and they said, "What languages can you speak?" And I was just like, "English, Scottish, and gibberish." I can speak that, but I was like English and French. So because I've done French at school, so they basically started asking me French words and asked me to translate it to English. I was just guessing because I thought it's for a hotel, right? So they'd say a word and I'd be like, suitcase. right. That's a common word to be
just
used.
Take a punt.
I was just guessing as to what the French word could be. Anyway, needless to say, I got exposed when it came to can you speak?
It's all right. Could have been worse. You could have done you remember when he was a Sociedad manager and he started just the occasional word would go mad Spanish. El arrabende, I mean, just like busting it out like that could be worse.
Yeah. Corky said Antonio was immense. He was wrestled to the ground on occasions, and the referee was awful. Major says we should play like that against every team we play other than Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Funny enough, I think that's the 3 teams you should play against, and you might,
I agree.
You might get something from.
Something I wanted to say, something that I compared it to was I remembered watching Jurgen Klopp's Dortmund back in the day, and with that gegenpressing, high line, pushing you, trying to win the ball back within seconds, all that stuff. And I can't remember which team it was. We just boot it over the top of them, and we're like, done. See you later. No more. Can't press us if we don't. Just gone. It's over the top of you. We're already in behind. That sort of thing. And I think when you look at those sides, Liverpool are the obvious one because they have Klopp, but like the other ones, if they're going to press you, if they're going to be all on top of you, that's not you play against. Just boot it over the top of them and go for it. The other teams, you have to think about it a bit different. You have to do whatever. But if they're on top of you, just kick it over them. There's nothing you can do. How do you escape a press? Just boot it over them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mark says if we played like we did in the first half, we would pick up more injuries. However, if you had a deeper squad, you can then cope with those injuries. Cyclops said didn't notice the ref in the first half. Someone suspected that's the problem. I thought he was okay in the first half. I thought he started to lose the plot a little bit, when the benches started getting involved and then Antonio and Jonathan Tah squared up. And I felt that's when he was starting to lose control because I thought he was actually doing okay. Like when Ward-Prowse pushed the player over twice in a row, I think it was Palacios. He fouled Palacios. They took a quick free kick. Ward-Prowse ran over and just pushed him over again. And you could see the ref just saying to Ward-Prowse, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Just stop it. And I thought that's the right way to manage it. Be firm. Be very clear with your communication and just have like a no BS stance with all of them. But after the scuffle in the dugout and then it spilled onto the pitch with Antonio and Tah, I felt from then on the ref was just lost the plot. I think he just decided he was just going to start running around kicking off and in the second half, I just thought he just gave us absolutely nothing at all. It was Billy McKinley that got sent off infinitely. He looked like he was actually going to whack somebody as well. He looked fuming.
He was angry.
Don't know what it was, but it wasn't even like a little to and fro. He looked like he was ready to deck someone. I was surprised there wasn't a physical altercation. And their coach was just as bad. They were both going at it.
When Kevin Nolan looks like the calm man in a situation, there's something something has gone awry. Something has gone awry. I think to say one positive thing about the referee, right, before I say what I was going to say next, it was a very difficult game to manage. It was a very difficult game to ref because I think we came out with a very specific meta game plan. We came out to do that. We came out to annoy them, to harry them, to just bug them into the ground, to really frustrate them. And I think we've seen that happen against us. The Bristol City, I think you mentioned in the review potentially, that was a really good example of a team who just came out with that game plan and were like, right, we are gonna dark arts you into the ground. And we started that right from the beginning. I can't remember the exact situation. I think it was maybe Xhaka doing something and Antonio turning around to the referee, literally right at the beginning of the game, turning around to the referee and going, pay attention to that. In that sense, he's not going to get a yellow card now, but just so he keeps the number running, the tally in his head, sort of thing. And I think in those situations, it is obviously quite a difficult game to ref. Now, having said that, Jesus Christ, did he fall at that hurdle? Because my lord, he was god awful. That second half was just I again never mention referees if I can help it. He was god awful. It was unbelievable.
The thing is, it might have been a difficult game to ref, Charlie, but this is the quarterfinals of the Europa League. I expect the best 4 referees in Europe to go to the Champions League quarterfinals. That's fine. I get why they would take priority. I expect the best 4 after those to be in charge of the Europa League ones. I expect us to have one of the best 8 referees in European football. And sometimes when I watch the Champions League and you see the referee in there, I do think they are a cut above sometimes, like likes of Orsato and that. I think they are, doesn't mind dishing out a card, but I do generally think he's in control of the game. Whereas last night, that pointy nose, lanky streak of piss was not in charge whatsoever. I hope his missus burns his paella tonight, honestly. Not happy with him. I expect him to be one of the best referees there is. Right, a couple more comments and we'll wrap this up, or we could be here all day. Adam said he finds it weird that everybody's accepting that we had no energy after 50 minutes just because we decided to press for once. This should not be happening.
Only, I would say only there are very few exceptions where teams can carry on pressing like that consistently, especially at this stage in the season. I mean, there's a reason why when, say, Pochettino at Spurs, for example, would be getting to this stage of the season and there'd be a little bit of tired legs, but they'd still be doing it. And all the pundits were being like, that is incredible. How the hell are they still doing it? It does take a hell of a lot. And we have played almost, I don't know how many compared to other teams, but I would hazard a bet that we've played one of the most amount of games in England in the last 3 years, given the fact we've been getting consistently to the late stages of Europe. So we're probably up there with at least in the top 5, you would imagine, of games played. And so to go that far into it with an aging squad, the pressing that intensity just can't carry on. Like, don't get me wrong, we stopped earlier than you would suspect and want to be the case, but I think you do have to sort of look at it a little bit realistically. And listen, maybe that's my fat man energy coming through and being like, Jesus Christ, 1 minute of that and I'd be done. But I do think there's a reason why the top coaches get spoken about that, because it is a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with yourself and I kind of agree with Dagdrum. I think I was a bit, like I said earlier, I think the difference between us finishing the first half and starting the second half is significantly different. We went in the changing room, we came out with less energy. And I get it, when you're playing on adrenaline, you're playing on momentum, you're feeding off the atmosphere of the crowd. But that was still there. When the second half kicked off, the atmosphere was still there. If we started fast for that 5 minutes of the second half, that crowd would have just got louder and louder. It would have dragged you through. And I think sitting back and letting Leverkusen have the ball, I think that drains your energy more than anything. You saw Alvarez trying to chase somebody around about the hour mark. He couldn't do it. There was just nothing in his legs. He was trying. He was almost like a power walking back, but making it look like he was jogging by the movement of his arm. But his pace was not a jog. He just couldn't do it. And I think the drop off in energy levels between the end of the first half and the start of the second was quite alarming, actually. So I kind of agree with Adam, and it's just a bit. It's a bit frustrating. Like I said, lost opportunity, not just last night, but the competition as a whole, especially when Liverpool have been papped out by Atalanta. It's hard not to think, had we gone through, we'd possibly be favourites to go on and win the tournament now. So it's a bit frustrating, but there you go. Mick said you can get people who can run 28 marathons in 28 days. I mean, hardest geezer ran 270 marathons in 250 days. Yeah,
I mean, I would say though,
he was running over a marathon a day.
Probably can't whip in a decent cross at the end of it though. You know what I mean?
No,
it is a bit different.
I know, but it's just a bit of fun, Charlie. Bloody
the point stands. The point stands. I'm just saying.
That's it. Get hardest geezer into midfield. There we go.
No, we got him. He's James Ward-Prowse. That guy didn't stop. We're good with that. Everywhere else we needed it. Up front, on the wings, full back, defence. Midfield's the one place where we got runners. Well, apart from Alvarez, I guess.
Anyway, shall we wrap it up there? Would you like to close the show, please, Bevel?
Yes, we appreciate you all for being here. Once again, thank you to History of Mike and to Gaz for the super chats. We massively appreciate it. We'll be back with full match day coverage, of course, on Sunday for the match. Build up, watch along, review, all that good stuff. And then later today, I believe we're doing the preview.
Yeah, the preview later today, and then tomorrow morning will be my video with a Crystal Palace fan who is fantastic. It's Dan, better known as HLTCO on Twitter. Hopkins looking to curl one. He's the Crystal Palace fan. I've already recorded it. It's going up tomorrow morning, and I think I'm a bit biased, but I thought the Fulham fan last week was excellent. I think Dan is excellent again tomorrow, and he's very. The pundits have got no right to tell West Ham fans be careful what you wish for, and he sort of argues on behalf of West Ham fans. I think it's a fantastic listen, but I'm biased.
Yeah, I like Dan a lot, so I'm looking forward to watching that. And you'll be able to do it on Saturday. But until then, appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Come your ends and see you later. Bye, everyone.